understanding of my exit and my entry point.
Okay, great. What didn't work for you last week?
Not predicting the probability, being a bit too optimistic for going my way.
All right, okay. Okay. All right. Why didn't it work for you?
Because then the trade would turn around against me, so I probably needed to not be greedy and be realistic again.
Okay. Then what do you need to improve on for this week?
I'm being in the right mindset, for me it is, to do meditation, affirmation, accepting losses.
Alright, gonna be here.
Oh, okay. I couldn't see those last two when I just got online. So.
No problem. Okay, what emotional effects were you feeling last week?
A bit frustrated, I suppose. Doing the background information, I was doing being methodical, but then I wasn't getting what I predicted. So I think it's more about, having the probability rather than my expectations.
Gotcha. Okay, nice. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, Harry, you ready?
Ready when you are, Ray.
Okay, so what worked for you last week, Harry?
I think defining demand and supply a little bit better. I know we did a session last week, so just trying to determine supply and demand a little bit better.
Great. What didn't work for you?
I think just, how do I put this? Trying to take a look at the overall picture. It's still a key element of looking at this from all angles, a three-dimensional approach to it. I still get blindsided or one-sided looking at it from one particular angle, rather than encompassing the whole picture. Yeah.
And why didn't it work for you?
Probably too focused or too consumed with a particular element of the smaller picture.
Nice. Then what do you need to improve on then for this week?
Just want to be a little bit more with the trading journal, just a little bit more detail on why I entered and trying to ascertain what elements I've lost or overlooked.
Okay, gotcha. What emotional states were you feeling last week?
A bit tired and a bit sick as well. Like I've had the flu the last 4 weeks, so a bit washed out at the moment.
Okay, gotcha. And how can you improve for this week?
I just want to practice a little bit more this week, so even on shorter time frames, just get up to scratch a little bit quicker.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Oh, hi, Lisa. Your turn. Lisa, what worked for you last week?
Supply and demand and being not afraid to enter the trade based on supply and demand and not having to wait for confirmation, and then avoiding or waiting for the market to stabilize and not going against these strong, really strong candles. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, and what didn't work for you last week?
It's going against really strong candles prior to the news.
Alright, good. And why didn't it work for you?
I guess I was too eager to enter.
Okay.
And also because the move was kind of exhausted, even though the momentum was good.
Mm-hmm.
I went too far, too fast. Yeah.
Okay, so impatient?
Yeah.
Alright, then what do you need to improve for this week?
I want to pay more attention to potential exhaustion and not just only looking at momentum. That's the only thing right now.
Okay, alright. And what emotional states were you feeling last week?
Kind of nervous.
Okay. And how can you improve for this week?
I want to continue trading the methods that I have right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's working well.
Okay.
And just continue that.
Alright. No worries. Okay. Earl. How you doing? Your turn.
Well, what worked for me was I took Schwarzenegger's advice and got in that one trade that, what was it? That was that crazy, that Aussie trade. And I did good on that. I got within 1 pip of my target. And that was fun. The bad thing last week was I got out of that Euro trade. I mean, I got out with profit. I just got real tired of watching that thing hang in the negative as much as it was in the positive. And I just let previous experience control my emotions. And I just finally took the profit and got the hell out of it. I just didn't like the way it was waffling back and forth. And looking back on it now, it was a total mistake. That profits could have been off the charts different. And I realized something. What I learned was something that was interesting is, I guess the goal is to get to that carefree state of mind, or get to the point where you can move your stop, lock in profits, and then you don't care what happens anymore. And that would be a really nice place to be in right now.
Awesome.
So I think what I need to do is just grit my teeth and make that my new goal to get to that first level where you lock in profits and then let it ride, don't just take it off.
Gotcha.
And I'm having the same problem right now. I'm looking at this crazy Aussie New Zealand trade right now. Okay, it's up. There's money on the table. And if you close all the positions, there'd be a lot of money on the table versus saying, well, no, let it ride and, maybe go to the zero and I guess just not trusting, not having patience, whatever you want to call it. I wouldn't call it greed as much as I would just fear of this thing turned around and biting you, I don't know.
Okay. Alright, so what do you need to improve on then for this week?
Taking action as far as pushing buttons, that's not a problem, but just now patience. I guess not micromanaging, not looking at this crazy computer. See, you'll say, I look at it once a day, but I guess psychologically, subconsciously, maybe it's not just me, maybe the students don't buy that or don't believe it because they see you looking at the computer all the time. Because of your training, you're forced to look at the computer all the time. So
correct.
You're sneaking peeks all the time. Maybe you do see disaster happening and you're taking things off that you never would have. But if we're to believe you, we're not supposed to turn this computer on until a couple minutes before the market closes every day around 2 o'clock. Make a decision if you're on a daily candle and make a decision and get the hell off of it. And that would be a very neat place to be to come.
Okay.
That's where I'm trying to go with that.
All right. Great. So what emotional states were you feeling last week then?
This fear of loss. Total fear of loss, you know. And it was very real because I would be up a lot of points and I'd be down a lot of points, and it just seemed like madness to. It's like that old joke where the guy complaining to God why he didn't save him because he drowned in the flood, and God says, well, I sent the fire truck, I sent the boat, I sent the helicopter, and each time, oh, I believe in God, no, you can go, I trust in God, and finally he dies, and God says, well, I brought all that stuff, why weren't you listening? So this is the same thing on a trade. It's like, well, geez, how many times do you have to be in the green to be blown into the red and just do this waffling and say there's something wrong? And so I have to just follow the methodology and not let fear rule the day.
All right. And then how can you improve then for this week?
Don't look at my computer.
Right.
Shut up. Don't look at it. Like I am right now. Well, I'm in the class. Look, I'm in the class. Okay, now, you can't say don't micromanage it if you're hunting and looking around. Of course you're going to go take a peek and then get spooked. So, it's just, I guess it's just going to have to really follow the trading plan. That's just all there is to it. Or make a rule. Once you're in your trade, you can only play in demo to go look at things. You can't touch your live account if you're in demo. So maybe that would be a trick to do.
Do you think we can make a deal today?
What do you mean?
That if you're in a trade and you start to micromanage, then you gotta pay a fine?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'm in
Alright.
the trade right now. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. How much are you willing to pay for the fine?
$100.
$100. Okay, so we have 8 people in the room, including myself will be 7 witnesses. So if you micromanage, then it'll be $100 to charity.
Yeah, you got it.
Awesome. All right, great.
Did I
miss
$100?
Did I miss anyone in the class? Maybe not. Okay, great. So please write your learning goals, your behavioral goals, and as an extra, especially like your how can you improve, I want you to write a step-by-step process on how you're going to do that, like a rule-based. So say, for example, to practice, what steps do you have to do in order to practice? So you can just follow, so you have a goal in order to practice. And then read and revisit candlesticks. So what time of the day you're going to be doing that? How long will it take? Is it half an hour, 1 hour? To stay focused and be excited, what process in order for you to be focused and be excited for this week? Meditation and accepting losses. So what time during the day will you be meditating and accepting loss when you're doing your trading plan? So maybe perhaps like some form of reminder that part of your risk management, are you really willing to accept that risk? Continue trading the method that's set for you. Then what processes as well do you have to do? Then maybe perhaps you might have a trading checklist that you currently have, so you have to follow that. And then shutting the computer off and then looking at the trade. Follow the trading plan. Not micromanaging. So what process in order for you not to micromanage? There's going to be some form of reminder. Said okay, like flashing red lights. Remember, follow the plan. Okay. So there's one thing that I am going to accept with Earl, with the exception that Earl, if it's a legitimate intuition that you no longer feel safe with the trade there, based on your intuition and how strong you feel about the trade, that's the only time that I will accept in terms of closing a position before it will hit your stop loss or before it will hit your profit target. If that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, it does, but I'm trying to think if you. Yeah, I suppose if you, I think that would be fair to say that. Only
yes.
It's also fair to say you're not going to physically peak at this thing until the close of day each day. That's different. But if you're not even going to wait till close of day to make this decision, that's different. So I'll give you that. I'll meet you halfway on that.
Okay, sounds good. Beauty. That's only if it's a daily chart, right? But if it's
right,
a
this is a daily chart.
Correct. All right, awesome. Okay, then let's go through looking at chapter number 8 with trading in the zone. Okay, who would like to start in regards to summarizing chapter 8? Okay, so who read the book? Who read chapter 8, at least? Okay, so let's go through chapter 8. What did you guys learn based on chapter 8? So far, what do you guys have learned from the book from chapter 1 to all the way to chapter 7?
Your psychology plays a huge role in your success in trading.
Gotcha. So even if I give you the most perfect system, but if your psychology is not right, can you make money?
No.
Absolutely not. Right. In sport, it's always the same. Doesn't really matter if you hire Tiger Woods or the best of the best. But at the end of the day, who's going to execute all those actions?
Me.
No one else, right? But yourself, and it's in between the 6 inches between your ears. Okay, so that being said, let's what did you learn based on chapter 8?
Well, for me,
Sorry, go ahead, Anne.
Sure.
Okay,
Okay, so for me, what I wrote down is how the fundamental truths relates to the skills. Now, we define skills. The skills means consistency is a result of a carefree, objective state of mind where we are making ourselves available to perceive and act upon whatever the market is offering us from its perspective in any given now moment. So that's what the skills are. And there's 5, as we learned from chapter 7, or even chapter 6, I think it is, there's 5 fundamental truths. The first one is anything can happen. There are always unknown forces operating in the market in any moment. It only takes one trader somewhere in the world to negate the positive outcome of your edge. What that means is that, I think there was an example in the book where there was this big operator in the market, trying to learn trading electronically. So this guy was saying, okay, when you see this pattern, you sell. When you see this pattern, you buy, things like that. And then he didn't believe that. So what he did is that he gave a quick phone call and say, just a big, like, if I do this, look at what the market's going to do. So because he's a big player, what he did is that he rang somewhere, his broker, and said, buy so many millions of this stock, and it did, and the market basically just went up or went down. So what I mean is that anything, a big player like the institutions or anything like that, anything can happen. Just one big player in the market will change the the sentiment in the market. So we have to be open with what market's giving us. So that's what I learned with one fundamental truth, which is anything can happen.
Okay, so if anything can happen in the markets, then why do we create a lot of expectations? So what causes expectations?
Well, you're taught to look for an edge. You're told that it has a higher probability than not of working, so that all by itself creates an expectation. It kind of stops you from thinking in terms of probability. I mean, honestly, you know, if I gave you a trick coin, you'd be disappointed every time it didn't come up. But it's just, that's my answer to that.
Okay.
And what I got out of the book was, you know, our job is to decipher patterns and thus find the edge. And once you've found it, eureka, I found it, well, I guess you want to put more emphasis on it than it really has, I guess. And it's possible to lose 10 times in a row on anything. It'll really shake your confidence. So when you say, why do you think, you could also think it's the opposite. Why is it not working when really it is working?
So, I mean, so far for the intermediates, I've given you two very simple methodologies, but there's still some will like it, some will don't like it. The question is why? You know, why don't you like it? Is it because the understanding? Is it because of the experience of the losses that you experienced in the past? So, what causes expectation? Where does expectation come from?
I'm thinking like every day, what we do, like our actions, the results of like our actions are extremely consistent. Like if we are driving and then we turn right, the car is gonna go right, and then if we want to go left, the car is gonna go left. Like we get pretty much what we want, and then we come to the market and it's like, hey, like we put in an action and then we expect like a consistent result.
So why? Why do we expect them? Why do we expect some form of result? Because if the result didn't happen, what is the normal emotion that we normally experience?
Disappointment.
Disappointment. But where does it come from?
Thinking that maybe like you made a mistake.
Okay. And Harry, what did you say?
Just go back to your first one. Your expectations come from your belief. So you believe that you're going to put on this trade and it's going to be a winner.
And where does the belief come from? Simply is that limiting belief. And people will fight it and make it as a resistance, right? That based on past experience. So I'll take Earl's example. He's fighting about longer term time frame, you know, because of the fear aspect, because of what happened in the past. And now that if he left the trade, then it's okay. Then he would have gained extra. So in order to do that is to change the thinking environment by being patient. Yes, childhood, environment, culture, everything. You know, everything. You might watch something on TV, through marketing campaigns. You might have heard it, overheard someone. Anything can affect your belief system. And as long as you tend it to be true, bingo, you've created a belief, either a supporting or a limiting belief. And through that expectations, childhood, someone, your parents probably, or someone close to you, a friend, promised you something, and then it didn't happen. And then all of a sudden, the expectation, you just get disappointed that every time that happens, what happens? Also in relationships, right? And all of a sudden, bam, you're heartbroken. And then losing is the same manifestation as being heartbroken from a relationship, or not getting a toy when you were 2-year-old, or when you're touching something and your parents said no without explaining something. So without even you knowing, your layer has been within so deep that you don't even know where it comes from. That's why if I were you, I highly recommend to get some form of hypnotherapy or something of some sort.
Well, yeah, that's so true, because Douglas said that, and this is when you're in a class and you're being trained, I guess you confuse all this training with results, and Douglas has stated that market analysis is not the path to consistent results. So that kind of flies in the face of training, and I'll say that again. Market analysis is not a path to consistent results. It will not solve the trading problems created by lack of confidence. So when you say, why didn't you guys take the trade? Well, obviously there's a lack of confidence. And he states that this whole confidence thing, you will never be confident in the face of this constant uncertainty unless you learn to completely accept the possibility of an uncertain outcome. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. So I think we answered that question as far as that question box the other day. Well, why didn't you push the button? Why aren't you being Arnold Schwarzenegger? What's going on? Well, you truly don't believe in the probability. You talk, not you, but we talk. Yeah, we accept probability. We think in terms of probability, but no, we don't. So trying to learn method 2 or 3 better, or any other method, or 50 more methods, is never going to help you if you can't think in terms of probability. And
absolutely.
So again, the cold reality of trading is that every trade has an uncertain outcome, and unless you completely accept this possibility of an uncertain outcome, you will never make it, and it will always be painful. So, and that's on page 14 if you guys want to look at that.
Thanks, Earl. So page 14. You see, for the past 2 weeks, I'm still mind-boggled where everything has been laid out to the students who are in the classes, in the live trading, to the intermediate, especially in the intermediate within the methodologies. The advanced are a little different because, they're thinking now on their own. It's more about intuitive trading and more about forecasting. But in the live classes, where the trades are being given, it's pretty much a hand on the platter. You're being spoon-fed. But yet, there's no action of taking the trades. Not only what? It's a very small, minuscule ratio of people who took the trades. So that's the exact question. Why? Is it because of the confidence, your own ability, hence the terminology capability is from your confidence ability, capability, in order to execute, is by through taking action. So here's also something, I don't know if you guys took statistics or some form of mathematics in high school or university. How can you gain data from something based on hypothetical or theoretical, when you're experimenting in order to get data, what you should be doing when you're experimenting?
Are you talking about backtesting?
Exactly. So when you're backtesting and you're doing it in real time, what do you have to do in order for you to have some form of statistical data? Whether you're being successful or being unsuccessful.
You need to actually take the trades themselves.
Exactamundo. Because if you don't take the trades, then how are you supposed to know whether part of your statistics is good or not? Part of your win-to-lose ratio. People are just always focused on the win-to-lose ratio, but they're not focused on the actual mechanics on how they won and how they lost. Let's take Thomas Edison. If without him taking 10,000 times in terms of his experiments, do you think we're going to have a light bulb at this point in time? I doubt it. So he took 10,000 different ways in order to make the light bulb. What are you doing in terms of you to improve your consistency in trading? What ways are you taking? Part of your mental ability to trade and your technical ability to trade. So if you're just focusing on the technical analysis perspective, will you be successful? Will you gain the consistency that you will want?
No, not at all.
I doubt it. Absolutely not. It doesn't matter what methodology you'll be learning. You said, okay, I don't like M2, I don't like M3. I'm going to test Bollinger Bands. They're going to test the CCI, momentum indicators, MACDs. Regardless, there's more than 200 or 400 indicators out there. It wouldn't work because you're not willing to find ways in order for you to improve your way of trading. And the only way for you to do that is by what? Taking, starts with A.
Action.
Taking action. You have to press the trigger. If you're not, if you're not willing to to press the trigger, it wouldn't work. Then that means probably you'll just be wasting your time, and I don't want to waste your time.
Well, there's an age-old proverb that says, "Conquer fear with action."
Nice. So that being said, you know, your goal for the whole week, next week, the following week, is to practice by pressing the trigger, putting trades. It doesn't matter, you know, if you lost, who cares? Find the solution. How can you make it better? We're here for you. I'm here for you. Anne's here for you. Harry's here for you too. Right? If you're a beginner, intermediate guys are also there for you. That's the whole purpose of why there's, you know, you have a trading partner and you have your teacher's assistant and so forth. Right? Because how are you supposed to know if you're improving if you don't send your homework or your trades? Would you be able to just by you looking at it?
No.
Absolutely not. Who here in the room has experienced some form of, I don't know, sport, it doesn't matter which one, where you're being personally coached in order for you to win something, aside from within this program?
Oh, I think everyone had.
Yeah, probably school, right? Mike, do you have teachers' assistants at school?
Yes.
So if you don't ask any questions, would you be able to get the results that you want?
Nope.
No. Right? So utilize your environment. We're in the same team, right? Not one single person over here is not going to be successful without another person. You guys have to remember that. You can't succeed on your own, plain and simple. If you think that you can succeed on your own, good luck to you. You know, you will need a good support system. That is the bottom line, right? So I feed your energy. You feed my energy. I see the way how you trade. You see the way how I teach. It's a give or take. So there's only difference, like what basically Earl was stating, is simply, yeah, I don't look at my trades, but I look at the markets every day. I practice every day. How often do you practice? I put in trades that regards to demo or live trades. How often do you do it? Right? So there's no right or wrong in trading, in my own opinion. And winning and losing is not the answer. In my personal experience, if you're focused too much about winning, you won't be able to win because your focus is about winning. If your focus is about losing because you're fearful, then you will lose because your focus is about losing. But if you focus on the process itself, then the result will come. It doesn't matter if it's a win or a loss. Right? Sweet. So what else did you learn from 8, aside now from looking into this, where defining the terms, or there's no outcome. Here we go. What are the objectives? When you're trading, you need to know what your objectives are. By the way, let's take a trade. Now you're scanning the market, you're looking from the weekly chart, the daily chart, the 4-hourly chart, 1-hour chart, 15-minute chart, 30-minute chart, 1-minute chart, 5-minute chart. So, let's take, for argument's sake, you saw a setup for the weekly chart. Now that's a weekly chart. A good setup, the probability is very high. Then you need to ask, what is the objective? When you're seeing, you say, oh, great. Now, it's a weekly chart right here. It will take weeks in order for me to profit. Your objective as part of your question as well is, am I really willing to take this trade and be in weeks or even months in order to make money? If you say no, you're not willing to because you're not going to have the patience, what will be the number one answer?
Don't trade weak.
Don't take the trade despite having a good setup that has a high probability and a low risk. Okay, but if you say yes, the next question you should be asking yourself is, will I take full responsibility with this trade without me micromanaging the account? That will take 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. And then the next question you're going to be asking, what I'm going to do with that 3 weeks or 6 weeks? Nothing, go on holiday. Or, this is where multiple accounts come into play. I'll be finding a different trade based on a small one while I'm living that trade. Right, so the objective, the intention is always going to be very important. Now, what if you found a setup on a 30-minute chart, and then you know that you're going to have a meeting where you're going to go pick up your kids, you're going to be cooking, you're going to look after something, I don't know, you're going to go out for a date and you have a meeting, then if you're going to be on the 30-minute trade and you have to be there every 30 minutes or set and forget or whatnot, then you got to be on that within that time frame. So what will be the objective? Okay, great, this is a day trading, momentum trading, but I have to be in a meeting in about 30 minutes, an hour. So will you be taking that trade? If you say yes, then maybe perhaps you have a set and forget type of mechanical type of system. Put your entries per your stops, regardless of what happens, basically you're done. But if you're willing to stay in there with no distractions, then you gotta be there, right? You gotta be on that trade. Really important. Okay, skills. Consistency is a result of a carefree, objective state of mind where we are making ourselves available to perceive and act upon whatever the market is offering from its perspective in any given now moment. Really important. So notice when he stated it is mainly from the perspective from the markets, or the market's perspective, not within your own perspective. That is the skill that you want to be, because that's pure objectivity. You're not using your own opinion and perception in the markets. You're using on what the market is dictating to tell you whether to go long, to go short, or to stay away, pretty much. So what is a carefree state of mind? What do you think is a carefree state of mind? Aside from him saying carefree means confident but not euphoric.
No stress, no pressure.
No stress, no pressure. So basically you're just purely being you, right? You won't feel any fear, no hesitation, no compulsion to do anything, because you effectively eliminated the potential to define, interpret market information as threatening. So when is the only time in being threatened by the markets? Or within your trade, when you're being threatened?
When you start adding random variables.
Adding random variables. See, here we go again. Look, to remove the sense of threat, you have to accept the risk completely. So for the past 2 weeks, who took the risk and accepted it completely? So I want you to write down in your journal right now whether if you did or accepted it or not. If you didn't, say a big fat no in there. And then your job for this week is to accept full responsibility of that risk even before I'm going to execute the trade. Right, to calculate. So how much am I willing to risk based on this trade? If you're going to say 10%, 5%, are you going to be happy with it? Like I'm talking here fully acceptance, not 50-50 for the sake of trading. right? So based on a one-on-one today, same thing with student. Started panicking, basically panicked, took the trade out, closed the trade out, didn't follow along with the plan because emotions took place. But if he didn't micromanage the account, then he would have won the game. Easy. Because everything was with him. So I was explaining to him this morning that, you see, I think, it's like when I'm trading, I should do it similarly to sports. Because especially in a world-class level where you're fighting another athlete who was an ex-world champion or an Olympic or an Olympian, just imagine, the psychology behind it already, and you're going like, holy craps. There's one event, 1998 in Spain, fought a guy from Egypt. He was, I don't know, from what I heard, he was in world championships and like, whoa. And I'm like, whoa. And when this guy kicked, you can feel, the winds like from the kick, like the whiplash was so fast and so strong. It's like and it missed my head by, just imagine, about an inch. And all of a sudden, my confidence dropped a little bit. And it's like, because he's strong, he's faster, and then putting the mentality aspect that he was a national champion, or like an ex-world, like I think bronze or something, but he was ranked. So, but to overcome it, because you're already there, you have no choice. Once you're in the ring, you can't just back out. You can back out, but just imagine, your teammates as well, supporting you. Then how would you feel? Imagine the amount of integrity that you'll be losing too. So to commit, so basically I just remember from my coach at the time, he goes, you cannot fight his speed or his power. You have to move, and then you have to find a way in order to get the point back. So at one point it was very even, it's very close. He won by 1 point. But just the emotion itself, and then simply to share with you guys, is simply that when someone's too powerful, too strong, you cannot really fight it. So in other words, that if you see a candle and you made a mistake, accept that mistake and move on. Because if you're still dwelling, you won't be able to move on. Every time you create a strategy on an offensive move, based on offense, you always need to have a defense. That defense is your stop loss. So simply, if you're already winning, so a good fighter or a good player, that if once you're already up, you're just playing with that person, because psychologically the person is already gone. So to protect your point, on the other hand, is also playing smart. So as a defensive mechanism, the defensive mechanism that once you're up, so say for example you're already 50 points up or 50 pips up, if you didn't put your stop loss from break even or even just above break even, then you don't have a good trading strategy. Then you don't have a very good defensive strategy, because you're already up. But what if with just one move, one mistake, and there's some form of news, the market basically tanked? Everything that you worked hard for basically is gone. So imagine the amount of emotional stress in terms of that weight, despite you didn't do anything. But what gives you, that a lot of worry or that stress is based from that emotion, because you're seeing that you're in a positive, all of a sudden you lost everything, and then you create a belief that maybe perhaps you're not good enough and you're not worthy enough, and you keep on sabotaging your trades, and that's what will happen. It keeps on like a vicious cycle. So when you're up, a really good strategy is simply you put your trailer stop above break even, because your risk is zero, your reward is actually unlimited. You're just playing now with the markets, the poor sucker on the other side. Remember, you're now with the markets. You are playing with the markets here. You're not playing against the markets. So the poor sucker on the other end, who still believes of basically buying at the very top whilst now you're selling, your risk is now zero. The risk is now huge. So your mentality is simply, you got to be brutal as well. You know, despite you're a retail trader, you don't have anyone around you, but there's also another guy on the other end who's going to buy or sell what you're selling or buying. So you have to milk each and every penny that the market is basically giving you. So that's where the brutality comes into play. So once you're in a free trade, you're just playing now with the markets. You know, it's a free risk trade. Doesn't matter what happens, because at the end of the day, you already won the game. So where the greed comes into play is simply, you know, you already won and you're still being greedy. What more do you want? So is that a good trading environment, or as a trader, or is it not a good trader? So you can have both. You can have greed and you can win. Only once the market is, the market can give you more. But if the market cannot give you any more and you want more, that is pure greed. Then you won't be able to have that, right? Then that's where you need to change the way how you should be trading. Okay. Alright, so moving forward from there, what is the now moment? Trading the now moment means that there is no potential to search an opportunity to get into, get out of, add to, or detract from a trade with a past experience that already exists in your mental environment. It is just simply the moment, like right now, where the future doesn't exist, nor the past any exists. Likewise, you know, that's why I love competing. For me, it gives me the big kick. It's simply psychologically, for me, this is still a competition environment without the physical environment, like physical contact. But mental, the mental game, absolutely. So when we used to fight on the world class level, once you're in the world class level, it's a different ball game. Each and every fight is purely. It's also very dynamic because it also depends on the fighter. But you need to be in a moment of now to have that zone. But if you have a lot of worry or stress and you're thinking, oh man, I know I'm going to lose, then there's no longer, you won't be able to perform. The key is actually performing within the moment, like that now moment. Okay, so when you're trading, nothing exists except you and the market, like right now. So if you already made a profit right now, take that money right now, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So, but if you're losing and you made a mistake, close the position, then go to the next one. Who cares, right? Just bow down to the markets, or just accept that you made a mistake, you made a loss, go to the next trade. All right. So, you know, I know there's the fundamental in the end base that anything can happen. You don't need to know what is going to happen next in order to make money. Yeah, that's true. You don't really need to know because everything happens today. Yes, you have your profit targets and so forth based on your maximizing strategies. The odds are in your favor before you put in a trade because based on probabilities. Everything is about probabilities. It is not like a trading or programming type of environment that you will know the end result. Trading is totally different. How much is it going to cost to find out the trade is going to work? That's your stop loss. How much is it going to cost you? You know, that's your risk. Am I willing to risk $200 in order for me to play this game? If you say yes, you don't have any emotion. It's gone. It's a stress-free environment. Okay, there is a random distribution between wins and losses for any given set of variables that define an edge. So between wins and losses, in my opinion, is mainly your performance. So in terms of the random distribution, it's based on your performance, based on your mental game and your physical game. If both of them are in sync, bingo, you're basically in the zone. An edge is nothing more than an indication of a higher probability of one thing happening over another. That's it. How big is your edge? Right? Okay, and number 5, every moment in the market is unique, which is so true. And hence, I know, like some trading books, they're all so focused about systems. Man, every person can make money in the bull market. Every person cannot make money in the bear market. about in a volatile market? I've seen it like I've seen 3 cycles, right? Yeah, since actually 96. I wasn't really trading 98. So, question is, when that happens, are you supposed to, like, in terms of trading systems, just don't focus on the trading system itself. See, you need to know about the mechanics. Even if you don't know the mechanics, like I said, those indicators will be actually useless. If you don't know the purpose of the indicators, then whatever you're doing will be useless as well. Okay. All right. Let me stop from here. If you haven't really read, please make sure to read, because, like I said, this is a really good book. It is actually one of my favorite books, and it does relate to everything. When I read the first time I read this book, every sentence like, oh man, that's me. Yep, that's me. Yep, okay, great. Right. So this book actually also helped me out in my sport. There's another great book. I can't really find it. That's my first psychology book called Sports Mind. It's an awesome book. But nevertheless, I believe in hypnotherapy. If there's something that you need more and you think that your layers are way too thick, or get someone that would be able to look deeper. So I love that movie too, Inception, because it's so true. You have different layers based on your beliefs. See, the deeper it gets, sometimes you're actually mind-boggled, like, wow. You'll actually be wowed. You're gonna have a lot of fun, like your popcorn go pop, 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 a lot of breakthroughs. All right, guys, any questions, queries, challenges before we wrap it up?
I think maybe, I think one of the common problems people might have, and they don't even realize it's a mistake, is putting a random variable into that equation of your edge and not realizing it's a mistake. Namely, analyzing your trade once you're in it on smaller lights, saying, well, if this methodology works on any light, I'm on a daylight, and I should be able to go to the hour light and see how it's doing in the short term. And if this methodology is giving you a signal to go the opposite direction on a smaller light, that's enough to shake you out or spook you. So I think you have to not confuse. I won't even call it mixing methodologies, because it's the same methodology just on a different light. They all should be clicking on the same lights. And that's
mixing time frames is a big issue.
Yeah, mixing time frames, right. You're not changing the methodology, you're just applying the same methodology, different time frame, and it should, in theory, they all should be clicking along in the same highway. So it's adding another variable to something, and if you're afraid, you're going to look for some reason to shake you out. You're looking for some evidence. An afraid mind will always over-bias things that it wants to see. And if you're seeing legitimate methodology on a smaller light going against your larger light, there's your reason to run. There's your excuse. There's some way to mathematically, objectively make your fear come true. You know what I'm saying? So I think it might be kind of, I don't know about the new guys, but you can't mix and match time frame. You talked about it earlier, saying, well, I'm in the week trade, so what am I doing? Micromanaging, looking at other time zones. So
correct. Beauty. Alright, guys, we'll wrap it up, and then for the beginners, I'll see you guys later. Give me 2 minutes, okay? 2 minutes.
See ya, everyone.
Bye, guys.